Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about ordinal numbers. Ordinal numbers, they give the order in which things appear or events occur. So they're like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, etc. So ordinal numbers in Spanish, they agree in gender and number with the nouns, they modify because in that, so just like adjectives do. So Clarita compró un segundo vestido. So she bought a second dress because dress is masculine and singular. You have to use the masculine singular spelling of segundo. Because if you look up here, these all end in O. So that would mean there's actually 4 spellings of each. So I'll show you what I mean by that. You should know. All right, so for primero, I'll just do primero as the example. So you'd have primero, primera, primeros, and primeras. Okay, so you have to choose between those. So down here, and for segundo, you would have, I'll just put segundo up there as well. You would have segundo, segunda, segundos, segundas. Okay, so what you would have to do down here when you're trying to choose second, to pick which second to use, you have to look at the thing that you're describing with second, which happens to be dress. So since dress is a masculine singular word, you're going to pick the masculine singular second. And here, estas son las primeras rebajas del año. What's first are the rebajas, the sales. And so since rebajas is feminine and plural, you're going to pick the feminine plural spelling of first, which is primeras. Okay. The other thing you want to focus on is primero and tercero. When they're used to describe a masculine singular noun, they actually drop their O. They're shortened to primer and tercer. So if I say la tienda está en el tercer piso, it's on the 3rd floor, I use tercero instead of tercero because piso is masculine and singular. And Juan es el primer dependiente en vender un abrigo de piel. He's the first one to sell a fur coat because dependiente is masculine, I make it primer. In Spanish, ordinal numbers are rarely used after décimo. The cardinal numbers are used instead and follow the noun. So la liquidación es en el piso 12. It's taking place on the 12th floor. So instead of using do décimo, you use 12. And the opposite of primero is último. So primero is first, último is last. So I'll put that out here. Último means last. Okay. So let's do some practice. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Este edificio tiene 5 pisos. Carlos trabaja en el piso más alto. Él trabaja en el blank piso. So if the floor has 5 pisos, whoops, that means it's got 5 pisos. It's got 5 floors. He works on the más alto, the tallest floor, the highest floor. So he's going to be working on the 5th floor. And what I'm looking at is piso. It's a masculine singular word. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to find 5th, quinto, and for quinto I could have quinto, quinta, quintos, quintas. I'm going to pick, so actually I'll put those all in there. So the options for quinto would have been quinto, quinta, quintos, and quintas. If I want my quinto to match piso, then quinto is the one that I'm actually going to pick. Okay, octubre is a blank mes del año. So if it's, so octubre is the, we want to know which month October is. It's the 10th month. So if I, and we're talking about mes, and so the options for 10, if you go over here, decimo, so you would have decimo, decima, oops, decimos, decimas. So if you look here, if you want your tenth to match your noun that you're describing, what you're describing is being the month. The month is what's the 10th. So then you would pick, since month is masculine and singular, you would want to pick the masculine singular spelling of 10th, which would just be plain old. Oops. Décimo. Tengo una clase a las 8 y una clase a las 10. Mi blank clase empieza a las 8. So if I have one class at 8 and another class at 10, my which class starts at 8? That would be my first class. So again, you could have primero, primera, primeros, primeras, etc. So I could have primero, primera, primeros, primeras as my options. If it's a class, if it's clase, then I'm trying to make it agree with class is feminine. So this time, and it's singular, so I'm going to want the feminine singular spelling of first, which is primera. And it's primera because of clase, okay? Agosto is a blank mes del año, so we're talking about August. It's the 8th. So your options here would be, if you look over there, 8th is octavo, so we have octavo, octava, octavos, and octavas. We want it to match mes, which is masculine and singular, so we would want octavo. Agosto es el octavo mes del año. Hay dos guitarristas en el conjunto. There's two guitar players in the band. La primera no toca bien. Prefiero la blank. So the opposite of primera. Primera is first. So the opposite of it, actually, hay dos guitarristas en el conjunto. So there's two guitarists. So la primera no toca bien. Prefiero the second one. So the first one doesn't play well. I prefer the second one, which would be segundo, right? So segundo, segunda, segundos, segundas, okay? And if I want it to match guitarrista, which is feminine and singular, I'm going to want just segunda. Marzo is a blank mes del año. Go back up here and do guitarrista, mes. Okay, marzo is a blank mes del año. Okay, it's the 3rd month, right? 3rd is tercero, or it could be tercera, terceros, or terceras, okay? If I wanted to agree with mes, I'm going to want the masculine form, which would be tercero. Now, the other thing is that primero and tercero are shortened to primer and tercer before a masculine singular noun. Mes is a masculine singular noun, so I'm going to drop the O and use tercer. Marzo es el tercer mes del año. Okay, junio is el, and I'm going to stop writing them in here because a lot of these have been months. So junio is a blank mes del año. We want the masculine singular form. It's the 6th one, so we're going to use sexto. George Washington fue he would be el blank presidente de los Estados Unidos. So we've got presidente, and we're talking about George Washington. So we would plug in first, which is primero. We want it to be masculine because president is masculine. But if you look over here, primero and tercero are shortened to primer and tercer before masculine singular nouns. Presidente is masculine, so I would use primer instead of primero. Julio is a blank mes del año. That would be the 7th, and it's masculine and singular. So I just go over here and find 7th, which is séptimo. El séptimo mes del año. Hay 4 mujeres que cantan en el conjunto. La primera cantante es Ana, la segunda es Silvia, la tercera es Marta, y la blank es Elena. So then you could put la primera, la segunda, so then the 4th one would be Elena. So 4th is cuarto, cuarta, oops. Cuartos, cuartas, and we want cuarto to agree with Elena. She's a girl, so we're actually going to pick the feminine singular one and put cuarta. Okay, la primera cantante es Ana, la segunda es Silvia, la tercera es Marta, y la cuarta es Elena. Or you might want to say la última. So the first one is Ana, the second one is Silvia, the third one is Marta, and the last one is Silvia. Y la última is Elena, which actually sounds a little bit better. So you can either say the 4th or the last.